So, welcome back. Today we're talking about trimethylglycine, or betaine, as you may have heard it. This is kind of an up and coming supplement, which you should probably keep your eye on if you're ever considering, or trying to stay up to date in the supplement market, new things coming, and like, and you're very serious about supplementation or sports performance in that matter. So, this is a study that talks about betaine. And it basically talks about what its main mechanism is, and then we'll get on to potential performance enhancement you can get from it. So betaine is an organic osmolyte. So that basically means that it maintains fluid balance within cells in the body. So how could this be useful for, say, an athlete or just a normal person? The same mechanism is found in creatine, being an osmolyte, maintaining this fluid balance. If your body can maintain hydration within the cell, within any cells, within muscle cells, you're going to have increased exercise performance even when you are dehydrated. And even when you are maximally hydrated, you may have better water balance in those cells and therefore better sports performance. So that's kind of the mechanism that is guessed to achieve performance enhancing benefits that we see in the research. It helps to maintain normal cell volume under osmotic stress. Osmotic stress just means when there's a change in osmolarity or levels of water, so to say, around the cell, it kind of maintains its water balance, its hydration, so to say, under this stress. So some really cool data. We'll talk about this to begin with. So 16 recreationally active students, 7 females and 9 males, took part in a study. And this was to check betaine's effect in cycling sprint performance, maximal power during sprinting during cycling. And so we've talked about it before, but we're going to go over it again. So what makes this study reliable, first of all, before we look at the actual data. So this on the side, this is, once again, I'm going to bring it up probably every video. It's kind of the hierarchy of what makes a good study. At the bottom, you've just got an expert opinion or just studies talking about a mechanism of something. This is a case report. And as you go up, it gets better. It gets better. So this one, randomized controlled trials. I mean, this is the one from this study. We've got a randomized controlled trial, but we don't have systematic review or meta-analysis. That's basically a review of multiple studies. That's not what we're looking at right now. But a randomized controlled trial, what makes it so brilliant is, so if you read this, so test 1, established baseline. Test 2 and 3 were preceded by 7 days of daily consumption of a carbohydrate electrolyte beverage, so like a blend of those two. And the second group were given a placebo betaine, but they weren't actually given betaine. And the third group were given concentration of betaine in these drinks. So basically, these groups that are being tested on aren't aware of if they are supplementing with betaine or not. So the placebo effect is kind of balanced out. If you don't know what a placebo is, it's the fact that if someone tells you you're taking something that's going to have an effect on you, your mind has a great way of kind of increasing performance or causing an effect in your body, dependent on what your mind thinks is going to happen. This is more, this affects people more than others, but it's used in studies, like 2 groups. One will have the drug or the supplement, and the other will take a placebo to kind of counteract the potential placebo effect that can be seen in these studies. And you can, after you've done these studies, you can see if the placebo versus the supplementation of betaine if the betaine's actually done something and it's not just the placebo, so to say. So these people were taking approximately 2.5 grams of betaine per day. We have seen in other studies, I'm not going to bring them up, but people taking up to 10 grams a day. But we don't have. I mean, we'll get onto why that's a problem later. But they were taking 2.5 grams of betaine a day. And yeah, they took it for a few weeks because betaine has to be loaded. If you haven't seen my video about loading, you should probably think about watching that. Loading is just like creatine. If you've ever taken creatine, you know you have to take it for a period of time before you start to see effects. It's the same thing for betaine. So the results basically say that compared to baseline, betaine ingestion increased average peak power by 6.4%. And this p-value basically, don't need to know what it means, but it means the result is reliable in this study. So very, very cool. If 6.4% can actually be seen from betaine supplementation, that would be very cool. This is the only study about potential performance in like weightlifting or strength training. However, no differences were seen in the bench press and basically just peak power across a load of different exercises. But the problem with these studies, 24 people were only studied on. And in this one, 16 people in total, 7 females and 9 males. They are, so look, a double-blind randomized controlled trial, but this says random order, whatever, practically the same thing. And small sample size, if you've ever done anything to do with statistics or anything, having, let's say you have 10 people and 5 take a supplement and 5 don't, you only have 5 people who are actually you're going to be testing effects on. And the variance between each individual could be huge just based off their physiology. So when you do studies for drugs, for supplements, you need to have a large sample size or multiple studies so that you have a big sample size to kind of base your conclusions off of. And especially when the best evidence we do have for betaine in, say, something for cycling sprint performance is only 16 individuals. It's very annoying because you see promising results, but you can't really, there's no certainty of them. It's just a correlation at this point. It's not causation, so it's not actually, you don't know for certain that this increase in performance isn't just random chance. It's just a correlation between the people who did take betaine and had an increase in power. So if we look at this, so why is betaine good? So if you look here, I mean, how can I get a pointer up? Here we go. So methylation is critical. What is methylation? You don't really need to know exactly what it is, but a methyl is just like a molecule in the body. It's carbon atom with a couple hydrogen atoms. That's not really very important. Just know a methyl group is important. Methyl groups are very important for, obviously here, are critical for your body functioning optimally. And methyl groups from betaine, so betaine is something called a methyl donor, so it donates these methyl groups to other molecules that need it for processes in the body. So these methyl groups from betaine regulate processes like homocysteine control. Homocysteine, it's just a molecule in the body that when at high levels can be associated with neurodegenerative diseases and cardiovascular disease. And then it's all like betaine is also useful in the synthesis of neurotransmitters. So things like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, melatonin, very, very important for those processes. And so DNA and gene regulation, so just the basic structure of DNA is critical, um, is kind of dictated via a process such as methylation. So cytosine, one of the bases of DNA, is actually methylated by kind of downstream of betaine, which is really cool. And so betaine, if you hear things like this, I would describe it as betaine is kind of like what a vitamin is to the body in some sense. It's used in everyday processes, and you can get it through your diet and stuff like that, but in very very low amounts. And there is space for extra. Like the reason why it is a supplement is because no one's betaine ingestion is optimized at all. So it is kind of like a vitamin, but no one actually has naturally maximized betaine stores. So it could be very beneficial for everybody to be taking betaine. So yeah, betaine versus other supplements. Not many supplements are already present in the human body and quintessentially supplement a vital process in human function. So, and there is obviously some okay evidence for muscular endurance benefits, and if the research is kind of brought up, like if we do get more research on betaine, it's a larger scale, it could seriously look, it could rival some or be one of the biggest supplements or the new emerging good supplements in the industry. And people who do endurance uh, sports could make it kind of a staple for their workouts. Um, yeah, I mean, it is just dependent on getting some evidence, and because of the kind of um, mechanism of betaine maintaining osmolarity in cells, that hydrating effect, uh, that maintenance of hydration, can be very critical in people who are looking at the 0.1% change in hydration, um, for things like for things like CrossFit or endurance sports. That stuff is so monitored that something like betaine could be extremely useful for those people. So why is it bad? So to begin with, the research, I mean, I've already spoken about it, still lacks a high quality study with evidence of its effect. I mean, we understand the mechanisms of betaine because it's already a naturally occurring, well, no, it's ingested through your diet and has a use in the body already. We understand that, and we understand what process it has in the body. But that extra supplementation, what benefits can we see from it? And that's what that high quality study could be extremely useful for. And then the next bit, the mechanism it supplements is not that neglected. I mean, compared to creatine, for example, betaine's kind of how much it can supplement is very limited because the maximal kind of saturation that betaine can have is quite low, considering creatines is it kind of has quite a high upper echelon in terms of how much you can supplement and how much of a benefit you can see. So the benefits the supplement does purportedly give do not rival the level of a supplement like creatine. Sadly, that is the case. I mean, one thing that creatine does have, so creatine osmolyte, creatine methyl donor. Okay, I've spelled donor wrong in all of these. It's not got a U. So yeah, just ignore that. So methyl donor, a phosphate donor, but betaine is not a phosphate donor. Creatine's phosphate donatory abilities give it the ability to give phosphates to reactions like ATP. So the production of ATP, the quickest, fastest form of energy in our body, used in such like kind of mechanisms as working out like in anaerobic exercise, ATP is so important, and being a phosphate donor, creatine is extremely useful in that sense. It kind of supplements that ability to be increase strength by quite a lot, and betaine doesn't have this effect because it's just not used in that process. That's just not what betaine involves. So when I talk about saturation of a target, so this is what I was talking about, how creatine, so this is the red line, this is creatine, how much it can saturate its target tissue and how much of an effect it can have, because the kind of the room that muscular tissue has to absorb creatine and store it, it has quite a high echelon. Okay, it has quite a lot of space for it, so to say, or room for saturation. That's not something that can be changed via changing the structure of creatine or changing the structure of betaine. You can't like increase your body's need for something. That's just something that the supplement industry has recognized with creatine. And so this this room for improvement with supplementation of creatine is not reflected with betaine. As you can see, okay, this should just say supplementation, not betaine supplementation. So this is betaine. Take not that much. You maybe take it for a week or two in like smaller doses, and you quickly see a plateau in saturation. But with creatine, actually showing a lot of evidence for that, even more than this 5 grams. It's like the golden number. We could see more saturation of the target, but the same can't be said for betaine. I mean, we don't have enough evidence, to be honest. So, maybe, creatine's the most researched sports supplement there is on the market, other than protein powder. So it's important to, keep that in mind. But things to remember, okay? It's important to remember that betaine needs loading. So if you are going to take it, make sure you're loading it. And okay, so we can also just look quickly at, so this drug administration. So they used anhydrous betaine powder. So it'll just say on a supplement container, betaine anhydrous, or the actual name of the brand used, Cystadane. This is the company, but they seem to only give them to pharmacies for some reason, even though it is just it's completely safe to take, and it is a supplement at the end of the day. So I think that's just that's kind of because they are the biggest producer of betaine anhydrous, I think, in the UK or Europe. Oh yeah, Paris, so France potentially. So yeah, if you're going to take it, find betaine anhydrous, for example. Here, trimethylglycine is just betaine anhydrous. It doesn't say exactly on the bottle, but yeah, that's what you've got to look for if you are going to supplement with it. And then, so it's kind of not necessary if you aren't seriously into sports supplementation, or into sports, or you don't have an extremely demanding kind of regimen of sport, then it's probably not the supplement for you. It's the evidence we do have says that it doesn't give you too much of an effect where it's like a necessity to have in your stack. So it's not necessary if you're not serious about making up potentially a 1 to 2% based on a maybe as well, because the evidence is just so small and it's hard to make assumptions and make conclusions about the supplement when we don't even have the evidence to say it confidently. Yeah, don't take it if you aren't an athlete, because you're not really going to see anything. I mean, maybe the only other thing that you use case for it should be during pregnancy, because we talked about earlier that it is used in homocysteine control. Homocysteine control. That levels of homocysteine can go up during pregnancy due to reduced amounts of folate in your body and vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. When you have less of these, levels of homocysteine go up, and they can be incredibly dangerous for your baby or you as a person, the carrier of the child. So that could be very important for individuals who are going through pregnancy. It's not a necessity, but it's definitely something that's interesting and could be taken into account if you are trying to control every single variable of pregnancy. And also betaine's effect on low density lipoproteins. I think there was some evidence to say that ingestion of about 10 grams of betaine over a long period of time can increase levels of some cholesterol, so low density lipoproteins. There's still not loads of evidence to say, and it could be a false biomarker based off of its effect on like homocysteine and stuff. But at this point in time, betaine is considered safe for every population. But maybe speak to your doctor about taking betaine if you naturally have high cholesterol. It's definitely something to think about. But that's actually everything for today. So betaine has quite a lot of potential as a supplement. Loads of supplement companies use it already, but I feel like it's kind of rash to kind of make a basis on this supplement already, considering the evidence we do have for it is kind of very minimal, and we do need more to kind of make a decent claim for its effect. And it's not creatine, okay? It's not as good. And before you jump to add it to your stack, stick to creatine for the moment. And you can take betaine and creatine at the same time, completely different mechanisms. So, you know, if you feel like doing it, if you want to experiment, take betaine, do your own, study on yourself, if you wanted to take on the risk of, doing that stuff. But that's not me saying you should. You should know the risks. You should research this beforehand. You should speak to your doctor. But yeah, I guess that's it. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. You've just been dosed.